Can I move this over a bit? Yeah? Okay, there we go. Doesn't make a huge noise. I don't just creak it along the stage. It's good. So good to be here. It is always such a blessing for me to come and join you guys. Ruth says a big hello with our huge clan of kids at home, which seems to grow. I don't know how this keeps working, but we have 5 kids at home now. Actually looking to transition our youngest little foster son to an adoptive home this next month, which will be a joy and a heart-wrenching thing to do too. But anyway, they all say hello from back in Winnipeg, where it actually has more snow than you guys have here, which I know you can hardly believe. And it probably is maybe a little bit colder. So yes, it is a hardship to move. Thank you very much. But I still wear green, and you don't have to worry about that. So it's all good. It is such a blessing. This is actually probably the busiest season for me in terms of working with Multiply, because like you guys just had SOAR here in Saskatchewan just recently. We have SOAR in Manitoba at the end of the month here, which is like less than 2 weeks away. And I get to plan that and organize that and stuff like that. But when the call comes to be a part of stuff here in West Portal, it didn't take me long to I love the community, and you've just all been such a blessing to us, and so thank you so much for that. This morning we're talking through in Isaiah 55, and I love in the passage here where it calls those who are thirsty, those who are like available to enter into this kingdom, and that's all of us. None of us are disqualified from that. We're all included in that. We all come thirsty. We all have a hunger for something, and we need that. And so we're going to talk through that, a little bit of that thirstiness and availability and how we come to the Lord. And then he brings us to this place of being able to flourish and grow where we can praise the Lord for what he has brought us through. And a lot of that is just being able to be available, to listen to him and to seek after him. And as I was thinking through this, a lot of the stories of where God has called us have come through this space, actually this physical space here. And so the first Sunday that me and Ruth came here to West Portal, I remember greeting Dwayne at the door, and he knew right away that we were new. And he right away set us up with a bunch of other young adults that were part of this church, and we got involved in a care group right away. It took us like 5 minutes walking through that door and to all of a sudden be a part of this church and this church family. It didn't take long. And through that care group, we got connected with Dave and Mel Berg, who were our teammates that we ended up going to Central Asia with. I'm going to screw this up at some point here, but I'm going to try to say Central Asia the whole time. Anyway, we went to Central Asia with them and are still really connected with them as they're in Austria. And I just love how these journeys start and where they take us. And I know even me and Ruth were serving with Sunday school and the gym, and I remember the little kids coming through, and Ryan was up here just a little while ago sharing. Ryan was one of my grade 2 little Sunday school students. So this is making me feel really old when I come here. And they're now on stage, and they have kids and their own family, and look into what God has on their life and their call. And then me and Ruth started working with Terry and some of the youth stuff. And I remember Brian Velicott, who I was just meeting with this last week, who is now a pastor out. We brought him over to Manitoba as well. So he is a pastor now in Killarney, and connecting with him there and seeing the call that God has on his life. And then, me and Ruth had this call to missions. We felt God calling us and inviting us into mission. And this was pretty early on, and me and Ruth went and did our university, so I did my engineering degree at the U of S here. That's why we originally landed here in Saskatoon. And Ruth did her nursing degree, and we felt called to mission, but we had no idea what that was. We actually got to the end of our degree, and I, kind of got a job, started paying off student loans and stuff like that, and we're just kind of sitting here like, God, what is next? What do you have for us? And I remember here at West Portal was hosting a 24/7 prayer time, and we chose our hour and went into the room there, and that was one of our calls. Like, God, we're done the degree. We finished that step that we felt you called us into. What's the next step that you have for us? Right after we were done that hour, we walk down the hall, and Dwayne and some of the pastors were meeting with Randy Friesen, who at the time was the director of MB Mission or Multiply. And right away they call us in and say, hey, come and meet Randy. You got to talk to him. We know that you have a call in your life for missions, and let's see what that is. And Randy calls us into missions more. Oh, so good. So good. All these different phases of God's like just reaching in and calling us, and us only being available. Like, we only said yes to go sit in the prayer room, or we only said yes to one step at a time, and yet God continued to lead. It wasn't of what we did, but it was what God continued to work out and where he was in all those things. And I remember even like just before we went to Central Asia and we did a big send-off thing, we had our whole team here in Saskatoon, and together we did this evening, and it was awesome to have the community just kind of supporting us and sending us and surrounding us. I remember my grandma was here, and she said, "This is the highlight of my life." To which my dad responded, "I guess my birth meant nothing, but it was so good." You guys have been such a big part of that sending for us and a part of our lives going out, and we have so appreciated that. And our time there was amazing, and God did some amazing things in our lives and our families' lives, and able to work with the church planting there, which was awesome, and still get to stay connected with that, which I just, that's been helpful for my heart as we come back here to North America to stay connected with what God's doing there and how he's moving there, which is so good. And then as we continue to move through life, I came here to Soar Sask, and when you guys were hosting it a few years ago, and I sat right here on the stage one afternoon with Claire, who was leading the worship for Soar that year. And at this point, we were talking about, or Ruth, I should say, was really talking about what would it look like for our family to foster. It was a part of her heart. She really had a heart for kids that were in need. And so she was like, how are we going to do this? And I'm sitting here thinking, man, we just moved back. We're just starting to get settled in. I feel like our kids are just getting settled into school, and like life is starting to normalize. Do we really want to add any more to this? And I just felt like, no, I'm not going to go there. And I was really resisting God's call in that moment. And I sat on the stage here with Claire, and Claire, not knowing what I was going through, started sharing her heart for fostering and their own family's journey through it, the things that they had done. And then I actually went to the Bridge the next day to connect with what was going on there with SOAR and the ministry there. And I'm sitting down talking with Linda and Ryan there, and they're both, without knowing anything about my story, start sharing about fostering and why it has been so meaningful for them. And Linda tells me this story about how this one person that had come to their drop-in that she'd been connecting with and had brought to their church, and in the middle of worship, this woman is just weeping, and Linda's like, why? What is wrong? Like, why are you weeping? And she's like, that boy on the stage that's playing drums right now is my son, but I had to give him up into the foster system. And I never would have been able to give him what he has up there. Oh, God just broke me. Oh, man. Sorry. But where do we become thirsty? How do we engage that? I didn't want to do some of these things. I was resisting some of these things, and God was continuing to draw me out into those pieces, and it has been beautiful. It's a busy house and a little bit crazy at times, but Ivory and Lyric have now been with us for almost 4 years, and it's been beautiful to have them as part of our family, and connecting with their extended family has been an amazing journey as well. Feels like we have gained a whole new set of relatives in this journey, which has been amazing. And yeah. Anyway, Isaiah 55. You can open it up with me. We're going to kind of move through a bunch of it, but yeah. In the first, right at the beginning there, it says, "Come, all you who are thirsty, come to the waters, and you who have no money, you're empty, you got nothing. Come buy and eat. Come buy wine and milk without money and without cost, and spend money on what is not bread And your labor on what does not, why spend money on what is not bread? And your labor on what does not satisfy? Listen to me and eat what is good, and your soul will delight in the richest of fare. Come, you who are thirsty. We're all thirsty. Like, there is always some sort of longing in our heart. We are all working towards life like Christ. None of us have attained it. None of us are there. We all have this emptiness, this space, this thirst, this longing. And in this, I was thinking of the woman at the well. And as Jesus goes and meets with her, and he knows who this is, right? She's at the well in the middle of the day, not because, that's the best time to get water or that's the most convenient. She's at the well at that time of day because that's the time she can go to the well, because that's the time, because of her life and how people have rejected her, that's where when she can go. And Jesus recognizes this and meets her, and she has this longing, and she gets this living water through this. Same thing. She came thirsty. We all have this emptiness and this longing. And it goes on to say, give ear and come to see, hear me, that your soul may live, and I will make an everlasting covenant with you. Give the ear, let's listen to what God has for us. Okay, so let's open our ears. God is actually going to fill something here. And before it even says, you don't have to have money, you don't have to have these abilities or whatever that is, but you still get to come and buy, you still get to come and be a part of all that God has for you. It says, see, and I have made him a witness to the peoples, a leader and a commander of the peoples. Surely you will summon nations and know not, and nations that do not know you will hasten to because of the Lord your God, the Holy One of Israel. For he has endowed you with splendor. He is actually doing all of these things. He is the one that is actually making these things happen. All we are doing in this process is coming. All we're doing in this process is giving ear or listening. All we're doing in this process is then seeking after the Lord. And he even mentions, here, David, right? David, who we all know wasn't perfect, and yet God had this relationship with David. He loved David, and David continued to come back to the Lord because David recognized that was what his inner self was longing and thirsting for. That was what he was wanting, and he comes back to that space. Yeah. And then it keeps going on, and we're down to verse 6, and it says, seek the Lord while he may be found, call on him while he is near. Let the wicked forsake his ways, and the evil man his thoughts. Let him turn to the Lord, and he will have mercy on him. We all have that wickedness inside of us. We all have sin that we come with. We all come to the cross with baggage and sin and issues. Right? None of us are perfect. None of us are able to just come and just say, hey, I'm ready. I'm going to be great at this, and I can serve you, and I'll be awesome. Right? We all come with sin, but we can come and seek after the Lord still, and we come to that space where God actually takes that, and he gives us mercy in the midst of this. This doesn't make sense. Worldly wise, none of this makes sense. We started off by saying, okay, come and buy stuff, but you don't have money, so you can't do that. Or come and seek stuff, and you can come after me, who I am perfect and without sin and everything, but you can come and live with me and be a part of this, but you don't, I will give you mercy in the midst of this. I'm not actually going to give you, what I should is the punishment and judgment and all those things, but I'm going to give you mercy in the midst of this as you turn to the Lord and seek after him. This is upside down. This doesn't make sense. This is not the kingdom that we would understand here in North America. This is not how we run our businesses or whatever it is. This is not how we operate. This is upside down. This is the upside down kingdom that God is promoting here. And continue on into verse 8 here, and it says, for my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are my ways your ways, declares the Lord. When I sat here and I was saying no to fostering, that was my thoughts. And yet God's thoughts was totally opposite that, and it has been a beautiful journey for us as a family. And not that it's easy, not that we engage something in this journey that's actually simple or easy or it's going to just all go well. That's not actually the journey that we've engaged with. The journey that we're actually engaging with is actually surrender. The journey that we're actually coming up with is saying, okay, I'm actually going to take the risk and trust in faith, Lord, that you have something better than what I can do on my own. And you're taking those steps, those leaps of faith. I remember always working with Hakan in Central Asia, and I love walking with this guy and the things that he continues to see God at work in Central Asia there, and just the way things are happening, right? So it feels like right now there's about a new church plant that's being planted every year through the ministry that they're working on right now. It's amazing to see the amount of people that are coming to the Lord in the midst of all this, and just the stories of where God is meeting people. And in the midst of 99.9% Muslim country, where people are having to give up way more than we will ever have to give up in North America, where they're having to give up their family, rejection from their family, where they're having to give up their job and potentially not even having a job after that, or how that's even going to work, but they're seeking after a God that is actually giving them this mercy and allowing them to enter into this upside-down kingdom that we get to be a part of. And they have these people that just come longing for something because that thirst is actually so great within them that they just can't do anything else. They've seeked after other things, and none of them have helped to fulfill that thirst. Nothing else is actually fulfilling what they are looking for. And so Hakan continues to walk with these people and see so many people coming to the Lord, and it's just beautiful to see that happening. But that doesn't come easily. Like even just a couple weeks ago, Hakan was attacked by his neighbor. Was stabbed by his neighbor. He's doing okay now. He's gone through a couple surgeries and has some recovery to do yet. But for a family living there, and how do you feel comfortable and safe? And yet he continues to engage mission. Like he is not walking away from this. And I remember our initial time when we were connecting with him, he was still involved in a court case that was against him because the people there had set him up. So the law in Central Asia is that you cannot proselytize to anybody under the age of 18 without their parents' consent. So he was set up. They had sent somebody under the age, but who had lied about their age with a con, and so this was in the courts for like a number of years. And he was offered, actually, by Canada that he could have asylum here, and they would actually bring him over, and he and his family can move here. And through that process, he said no. He says, God has called me to this space. If I leave, if I take what I have found, with the hope that I have found, the good water that has filled me up, and if I don't offer that to my brothers and sisters that are right around me that are so thirsty, then what am I, I have to live with that. And Hakan's continued call is, with no risk, there is no faith. So how do we step out in risk? And you guys, risk is probably going to look very different in all of our lives, right? And I don't want to diminish any of the risks that you are taking, because everybody walks in their own risks that they have, right? I remember our first time walking through here and coming and connecting with a care group, that was risk for us. Getting to know new people and what that was going to be and putting ourselves out there, that's risk. But getting involved in life, and I could see the beauty that God brought through all those things. And each one of those steps, even as small as they are, can bring about the flourishing of what God has for us. And as Isaiah 55 continues to go, it says, "As the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts are higher than your thoughts. As the rain and the snow come down from heaven, and do not return to it without watering the earth and make it bud and flourish, so that it yields the seed for the sower and bread for the eater. So my word that goes out from my mouth, it will not return to me empty, but will accomplish what I desire and achieve the purpose for which I sent it. You will go out in joy and be led forth in peace, and the mountains and the hills will burst forth with song before you, and all the trees in the fields will clap their hands." I love this image of flourishing. as we step out beyond our ways, as we step into the ways of God that are higher than our ways, that are backwards and upside down from what we're thinking. There's something new and different. As we step out into those ways, the ways of God, all of a sudden we see something that is flourishing. It's beautiful. And this morning we're actually going to be able to pick up a seed here and stuff too, but like we can see that, right? When you plant a seed in the ground, you don't actually have any control of it after you put it in that ground, other than the fact that you can take care of it, tend it, water it, those sort of things. But here it's even talking about like as the rains and the snow come down from heaven, like God is the one providing through all these steps. God is the one that will make this flourish. And yet we are doing his coming. All we're doing is coming, we're seeking, we're listening, we're coming towards what God has for us, and he's going to turn it around. He's going to just give something that's way higher than what we had. And in the end, I love how it ends because it just says, you will go out in joy and be led forth in peace, and the mountains and the hills will burst forth in song. I loved singing this morning. Thank you for leading with that. Oh man, I was weeping at the front here, just listening to the voices of praise as we lift our voices together corporately to worship the Lord together. I think in the same way, as we make those decisions, as we step forward, taking that risk, taking that step of faith into some of these things, God is also just worshiping with us. They're so excited. There's these thousands upon thousands that are coming and joining and just celebrating the fact. And this picture, you will go out in joy and be led forth in peace. And the mountains and the hills around us are going to burst forth into song. And the trees and the fields are going to clap their hands. Like the creation around us is just declaring, oh man, thank you for joining me. Like, thank you for coming alongside and joining in this beautiful creation that God has made and stepping forth in faith and taking that risk that you had to do or whatever that is. But you step forward and take that one next step. And who knows what God's going to end up. When we first entered these doors coming in here, I did not anticipate this church community and where it would lead me and bring me and Dwayne. Like, I wouldn't have been up on this stage if you at one point didn't actually touch me and say, hey Matt, maybe you want to preach one Sunday. And I don't know why I ever said yes to it, but it happens still. And you don't know what the next step is going to be, and you don't know where it's going to lead in the end, but how do we just say yes to that next one, right? The one that's kind of in front of us. And yes, you might resist it. You might be really against it, but continue to keep your ears open and seek after the Lord, because in the midst of all that, he pulled my heart towards this fostering stuff. He is wanting you. He is longing for you. He's drawing you into all this stuff and wanting you to join him. And so as you come available, right? Not that you are qualified or amazing at any of this stuff. Not that I am great at doing this stuff, but just coming available. I'm not qualified to really bring the kingdom around. I just get to be a part of it. I just get to have the joy of joining God in this mission with him. And so it's a joy to be just in there. And as we come available, as we listen, as we seek after the Lord, he opens doors. And yes, there's going to be risk, and it's going to be hard. And yes, your faith is going to grow. And yes, you will see God on the move and at work. And I'm always excited to see what God has. And who knows, maybe you will be the next one in Central Asia, and I get to walk alongside you and sending you into that. And I'm so excited. And I'm so excited for the team that you guys are going to be sending into that space to be visioning, to see what God has, continued call for you as a church into that. And thank you. Thank you for the support. I have to say that for Ruth and myself. We know you are praying for us. You pray, give, and go. We know that you've been a part of all of those things in our lives. And so I just want to say a huge thank you for all of that. This is the part where you guys get to come and be a part of everything, okay? So there in the front here are these little packages of seeds, sunflower seeds. and here. The worship band's going to come up and they're going to play and stuff, but you can come, and this is your one step of faith this morning that I'm inviting you into, and you can pick up your seed, and you can bring it back with you, and you can plant the seed, and you can see it grow, and you can see it flourish, and you can see, you might have to water it yourself, but I'm hoping that there will be some rain too, so a bit of both. But yeah, pick this up and plant it. And as it grows, I'm excited to see the beauty that comes of it. And like a sunflower seed, there are so many seeds that you come out of that. The harvest is rich and plentiful. And the harvest is rich and plentiful as we continue to engage the kingdom. This kingdom that doesn't make sense and that's upside down sometimes and is totally different than what we thought it was going to be. But God has something at work.